Welcome back to the Middle Tech Podcast. You've got Logan Jones here, and today's episode is a bit of a bonus episode, which is why it's releasing on a Friday rather than Monday like we do normally. Today's episode was created in partnership with Game Change. So Game Change is a coalition of a bunch of different organizations between Kentucky and Tennessee, a bunch of different stakeholders in our region. And it's really an initiative that brings together universities, national labs, government leaders, and private industry to really rethink how we design, use, and recover materials. So really around the purpose and goal of building an innovation ecosystem that is economically competitive and environmentally sound. And that is going to revolve primarily around manufacturing. So this is an initiative that Middle Tech has been involved with for about 2 years now. This is all in pursuit of the NSF's $160 million grant through their Engines program, which I will link down in the show notes if you'd like to learn more. And so Middle Tech was included in this to really try and capture some of the conversations and the momentum and the story of Game Change and all the different stakeholders that are collaborating to really try and push this thing forward. And so very proud to have played a small role in what's going on here. So this is just episode 1 of a 3-part miniseries where we'll be diving into what exactly is going on in this Southeast Commerce Corridor, as it's called, within Game Change. So if you're listening to this and you would like to learn more or get involved, I am providing some links for ways to do so in the show notes. Let's get into it. 2 years ago, a small group of visionaries gathered around a table with one bold idea: to create the U.S. Innovation Hub for circular economy technologies. What began as a conversation among a dozen industry and university leaders has grown into a movement of over 400 professionals, researchers, and policymakers dedicated to transforming the future of manufacturing in Kentucky and Tennessee.
Game Change is a potentially enormous project for the region. We started this with a vision 2 years ago to build the U.S. Innovation Hub for circular economy technologies, advancing sustainable manufacturing. I think the people who had that idea around that table back then was about 10 or 12. Today, we have 400 plus in this hotel that are here to learn, share, network, and join that mission.
The foundation was clear: modernize manufacturing, integrate circularity at every level, and build an economic model that thrives on innovation and resource efficiency for supply chain resilience and domestic competitiveness. But how do you shift an entire region towards a circular economy? The answer: collaboration.
Every time we came to one of these summits, every time as we work together, one thing that I've really liked is the scale of collaboration that Game Change could achieve. I think it's very unique in all the engines, not just different types of organizations, just how many of these organizations are interested in working together towards a common goal.
Kentucky and Tennessee sit at the heart of the nation's supply chain. By 2040, more freight tonnage will flow through I-65 and I-75 than anywhere else in the U.S. This region isn't just an economic hub, it's a manufacturing powerhouse. But implementing circular economy practices is not as simple as you may think. There are various challenges, but they aren't without solutions.
One of the biggest challenges of using recycled content is the variability. You know, as an integrated chemical company, we're used to very consistent raw materials that we get from refineries and other sources. But when you're working with recycled content, every shipment is different. Every shipment has nuances that impact our manufacturing processes. And so better data would allow us to be able to anticipate those fluctuations and to optimize our processes accordingly.
I think the biggest challenge we have is that we have thousands, tens of thousands of small and medium-sized manufacturers across our region, across a wide sector of industries that are not currently connected. I think that's the biggest challenge. But also, I think the great irony is that that's also our greatest strength. Because if you think about sustainable manufacturing, if you think about the economy, the circular economy that we want to help facilitate, what you need is exactly what we have. All of those potential partners just wanting to engage and collaborate. You know, automotive, aerospace, chemical, food and beverage, right? By bringing all those different sectors together and companies, you can really do things in sustainable manufacturing, circular economy that you could never do if you had kind of a more singular focus on any one industry. So I think our greatest challenge is also our greatest opportunity.
Yeah, developing a circular economy in this region means to me really accelerating this region's ability to be a resource hub hub for next generation infrastructure. Things like future of transportation, AI, all the infrastructure needed for AI. This region has a rich history being a resource hub, spanning back to the Industrial Revolution. We have a rich mining history and a rich industrial heritage. This future is really going to look at, instead of looking at mining technology or looking at legacy manufacturing technology, really looking at building cost-competitive technology for recovery pathways, remanufacturing pathways, and recycling pathways, which can be transformational for the region.
The Game Change Initiative was designed to meet challenges like these head-on. With an initial $1 million NSF engine development grant, we set out to organize a coalition of top-tier universities, national laboratories, government leaders, and industry partners to develop the framework for a circular, data-driven, domestic resource-efficient manufacturing future.
The global economy takes our raw material, which is the scrap or recycled material, out of our economy. It'll have a business impact on us, both from availability of key raw materials to the cost of producing metal from ground versus producing metal from a circular pipeline.
The transition from a linear to a circular economy requires more than just ambition. It requires infrastructure, research, new workforce development strategies, and new business models.
It's not just a good thing to do, but it's also economically sensible thing to do. That's what we see as a common thing with Game Change, and that's part of the reason why Lexmark is supporting.
Developing a circular economy in this region is pretty meaningful. When we think about the security of the materials that we need, talent that we need, supply chain infrastructure that we need, almost nothing is made even in America, much less in a given region. So when we start to imagine the capabilities needed, the technologies needed, and the partnerships needed in order to take an item, do as little as we can to it as possible, and get it back into the hands of a user who pays for it, that's the heart of the economic argument. Great margins, there's a great argument to be made for economic development. The challenge that we have, however, is that to do that, we need to fight upstream against today's linear economy that's had 100 years of development.
By leveraging advanced material science, supply chain transparency, and scalable recycling solutions, we're proving that sustainability isn't just good for the planet, it's good for business. From an idea around a conference table to an initiative that's reshaping the region, the momentum is undeniable, but this is just the beginning.
I think the most important thing to know about Game Change for me is really having experienced the collaboration that's been building between all different types of industry players, and not just industry, but we have academia involved, we have large businesses involved, non-profits, small businesses, startups. So it's really been a hub already for a lot of collaboration and information sharing, and just a lot of expertise in one room, which has been super exciting to see. So following that closely, I think is definitely well worth it.